operational and community service webinar that discusses the key elements of high-quality performance data. This will provide an overview of the benefits of collecting data. We will also explain what is meant by high-quality data and review key elements of quality data. My name is James Griffin. I'm a state program specialist in Phoenix, Arizona. And join with me later will be Sarah Stapleton, a state program specialist in Illinois. You will be able to understand the importance and benefits of collecting high-quality data. I can understand the 5 quality data elements and apply the 5 quality data elements to your data collection methods. Here's for the webinar. To begin, we will spend about 5 minutes on the basics and benefits of collecting high-quality data. Then spend about 10 minutes reviewing 5 elements that support the collection of high-quality data. Finally, we will conclude with a brief summary. National performance measures provide a set of common terms, definitions, and approaches to measurement and make it possible to combine data from programs and projects with confidence. Yes, national performance measures reflect 2011-2015 strategic plan. There are new benefits from the national service measures. First, CNCS can focus on national priorities and areas of need where national service has had success and experience. Measures also provide the data for a strong agency-wide narrative to tell the national service story. CNCS collects high-quality data and aggregates the results of similar interventions to demonstrate the powerful impact that national service has on our communities. In incorporating the data collection best practices we'll discuss in this session, a good step is to ensure that you are following the data collection requirements and definitions laid out by CNCS. Guidance can be found on the Knowledge Network by navigating to the particular performance measure you'd like to review, as shown on the screen. Remember, companion programs have required tools with associated training on using those tools and designing data collection plans. This materials are also available on the Knowledge Network. RSVP programs reporting on the independent living and respite measures may also wish to use these materials. To provide a process to follow when considering data collection to the expectations of the national performance measures, you should use these 5 data quality elements. Applying these elements will increase the confidence that you and CNCS have in the quality of data collected. Into more detail later about each of the elements, but here's a snapshot view of the 5 elements to ensure quality data. Validity indicates whether the data collected and reported by grantees appears to measure the approved performance measure or program goal. Indicates whether there is enough information to draw a conclusion about the data, whether enough individuals responded to it to ensure all individuals are represented. Consider the extent to which data is collected using the same process and procedures by everyone doing the collecting and all locations over time. Indicates whether the data is free from significant errors and whether the numbers seem to make sense. Considers the extent to which grantees have ways to verify that data was collected and reported according to plans and procedures. Important to note that an exhaustive list. However, it does include elements to consider when trying to yield high-quality performance measure data. It reflects where CNCS will place priority when reviewing your instruments and data collection processes. You can find a copy of this list in the conference library. send it over to Sarah, who will discuss each element in more detail.
As James mentioned, we're going to go into, over the next few slides, more detail about what each of these 5 elements represents. Validity asks whether data collected and reported by programs or grantees appears to measure the approved performance measure or program goal. Questions you can ask yourself when reflecting on validity include, is data relevant? Are reported items consistent with the approved goals of the current grant or program? Are measuring what you intended to measure? To the approved performance measure is an underlying expectation behind data quality. In other words, are all of the things the award recipient said they would report against reflected in their reporting? Let's consider an example. Details about the example are included in the box on the right-hand side of this slide. Jane manages ABC RSVP program and selected measure H12, which states that individuals will report increased food security for themselves and their children as a result of CNCS-supported services. It uses a survey to measure program impact. This includes questions like, did you have a long wait for food? Were you when you entered the facility? Are you happy with the service provided? So, the question to you is, does the survey align with the H12 outcomes? So before I tell you the answer, review what the H12 outcomes are, and looking at increased food security. In the questions, does it attain the outcome that she's looking for? No. Unfortunately, these questions ask about program satisfaction and do not capture the information that she needs. In order to ensure that the data collected is valid, James to include questions on increased sense of food security among those receiving support from CNCS. For additional assistance, Jane may want to visit the Knowledge Network for sample instruments and resources she can use that will align with the H12 performance measure. The completeness, and it's related to validity, but focuses more on coverage and whether there is enough information to accurately represent the population. What we're asking, is any vital information missing from the data reported? Some questions may help when reflecting on data completeness. Reported data contain enough information to represent performance measure activities? Reported data come from all stations and/or random sampling of volunteers or service recipients. Challenges that we have with data completeness is that in certain situations, there may be gaps in the data which are unavoidable. For example, situations such as a natural disaster, personnel changes, or power outage can prevent data collection for a period of time. In situations, what is most important is that the gaps are identified and explained and vital information is missing from data collected. So back to the earlier example about Jane and her ABC RSVP program. Jane is running behind in her schedule and only sends her survey out to 7 of the 12 stations she has identified as focusing on the food security issue. Is that Jane receives back from those 7 stations complete? The answer to that question is no. This is not a complete measurement of her volunteers' impact. When doing the progress report, projects need to ensure that they survey and collect data from all stations. You should assume that the results of one station are the same for all stations. Instead, you must actually collect the data from each station. In rare circumstances, such as a station closure, it may be possible to collect data from all stations. If this is the case, please state so and include an explanation in the grantee notes section found beneath the work plan in the progress report. The second is consistency, and it considers the extent to which data is collected using the same process and procedure. Consistency indicates that the data provides a reliable source of information to assess the long-term performance of the program, and helps minimize data collection variation and maximizes uniformity to reduce data collection discrepancies and bias. Evaluating consistency, ask yourself, do you really document your data collection methods? Do you have procedures which do your data collection process? Do you use the same data collection method for all sites of the lifespan of the grant, all volunteers and service recipients? Data collectors. Do you use jargon and other terminology used in data collection tools? Have you taken steps to eliminate bias? Continue with Jane's RSVP program. Jane checked her survey to make sure it is valid and reworded her questions to measure the increased food security of participants. She needs to ensure that the survey is disseminated consistently. Her plan is to provide the same survey, which contains the same 8 questions, to each of the 12 stations. Surveys are administered 3 to 6 months after the initial service. The survey indicates that the participants can respond to the survey via online survey programs, such as SurveyMonkey, return via postal mail, or via email, or they can fax, or they can phone. To get the most responses, Jane allows the participants to determine the best method for return. So what we have shared about Jane's survey process. Consistent. Yes. Not only Jane administered the same survey to all stations at the same time, but also provided a 1-page guide document to the station supervisors so they knew how to administer it, ensuring consistency through standard protocols and procedures. Even though Jane used varying collection methods, such as mail or phone survey, the data collection method is consistent because she used the same survey questions for every data collection method and provided the stations with the guidance. The element is accuracy. And simply asking the question of whether the data is free from significant errors and whether it makes sense. Main questions to ask yourself to test the accuracy of your data. Do you have a plan or procedure to collect and review data? And do you have a documentation showing that you followed your data collection and review plan? Does the data vary significantly in unexpected ways? Being able to answer these questions about accuracy of data collection is important during monitoring visits and progress report discussions with corporation staff because it shows that you are taking steps to ensure high-quality data. I'm using Jane's RSVP program example. Jane's progress report is due in 5 days. She knows that according to her training and the sponsor's data collection policy, she needs to collect the survey, analyze the data from all 12 stations. Jane has a total of 220 surveys. By week, Jane has completed the tally for each question and is ready to enter information into the PPR. But she remembers that the handbook tells her that she has to have her supervisor or volunteer coordinator look over the data. The information to those 2 people in her organization, asking them to check her calculations. She hears back from one of them that everything looks good. Jane gets the PPR with her reported data. Scenario, Jane used best practices to ensure accuracy in data collection by 1, building time into her data collection plan to review and analyze data prior to submitting the PPR. Review, Jane checks to see if the data varies in any significant way. The best practice is that Jane also has someone review the data for errors following her organization's data collection protocol. How about the last element of effective data collection, verifiability? It's at the extent to which grantees have ways to verify that data was collected and reported according to plans and procedures. Though all individuals in an organization are responsible for helping to ensure data quality verification rests with the grantee representative responsible for confirming that procedures are followed and that accuracy is checked routinely. The final element says that the grantee representative, which is the executive director or project director, would be willing to stand behind his or her data because he or she took the steps to check along the way that what was gathered reasonably reflects the program's results. Questions that we need to ask ourselves. The program director double-check that the data collected follows the plans and procedures for data collection. Did the director use controls throughout the data collection and management process? The program director regularly review and update its data quality control procedures. So using Jane's RSVP program, let's imagine that Jane is leaving for vacation tomorrow and wants to get her PPR submitted before she leaves. She quickly enters the data and hits submit to ensure that the report is received at the corporation state office on time. While on vacation, her project gets a call from their corporation state office program manager with questions about data. Since they did not compile the report, Jane's colleagues are not able to verify that the data was collected and reported according to plan. Is it an acceptable practice? She followed her agency's data collection procedures, which require her to sign off on the data, verifying that she followed her agency's procedures. These policies also require Jane to have another staff member review the data this is used by Jane before submitting the progress report. Jane would have followed her agency's data collection procedures. Another staff person would have been able to verify the data. Up our discussion of the 5 elements of effective data collection. Incorporating these 5 elements into your data collection process and staying abreast of the collection requirements and definitions allowed by the corporation on the knowledge network, you'll be equipped to consistently produce high-quality performance measurement data. Our data collection requires planning in advance and not be an afterthought to your work plans. It's important for your agency to have data collection plans and procedures in place and follow them. It's important for you to ensure that your data collection is in line with the definitions and requirements laid out by the corporation. Again, these definitions and requirements are available on the Knowledge Network. Thank you for joining us today and enjoy the rest of the virtual conference.